I thought in that particular game we seemed to win some of those key moments that we talk about from time to time, and certainly the 2 penalty kills. We gave up a goal to start, but those 2 penalty kills, the 4-on-3 and then the late penalty kill, were huge. So, good win against a very good team. In fact, probably the hottest team in the country going into that game. And now, we prepare for a game outdoors, which is a fun experience, but it's an important game. It's an important 3 points. And I guess you can prepare to the extent that you can, and what the elements bring, you just deal with when the time comes. And so we practiced on Saturday morning. We had Sunday off, and got back at it yesterday, and we'll practice here through Thursday, and the plan as it sits now anyway, we'll see how the weather goes, but as it sits now, we'll leave Friday morning and practice outdoors Friday evening, and then again Saturday morning.
Coach, how can you prepare your team to play an outdoor game? Is there an outdoor rink you guys have a practice at, or do conditioning outside? How do you prepare your team to possibly deal with the cold or the environment, or to the extent you can?
Well, we're not going to practice during the week outdoors. We're going to practice here and just focus as it's a normal type game. We'll have to wait and see what the weather's like when we get there. Last year we did the same thing, and we'll see what the weather has in store for us. But we'll have the opportunity to skate 2 times out there before we play. And that's how we're going to approach it anyway.
This is really, I don't think the 0-1 game was a conference game, correct? That was an out-of-conference game? Was it a conference game? What are your thoughts on having an outdoor game like this in conference play? I know a couple teams had it last year.
Well, I agreed to it. So it is what it is. But I think it makes it very meaningful. I guess it's like the NHL's Winter Classic. Those games count. And as you know, in the NCAA, all of our games count. And these happen to count in conference play, and they're real important points right now. If we can get a win out of this game, obviously it puts us right into the mix, and certainly, they view those points as the same. So there's a lot at stake. It's not just a special event. It's an important conference game in a special event environment. So I think it makes it that much more important. I came to realize, I think Barnesy, looking at his notes, this is the first time Michigan State and Michigan have played in a out-of-state game. Is that since 1968? So my money's on the Tigers winning the World Series this year.
Tom, way back in the day, the outdoor game was a huge deal. Has the novelty worn off with all the outdoor games that are being played now, both at the NHL and a few of these?
I think it depends on who you ask. Certainly, probably from a fan's perspective, especially in February with the cold to some extent. And yet at the same time, if you look at the NHL's continued success in terms of selling tickets for those events, you'd argue no, not on a local basis, maybe more on a national basis. For us, I don't think it's worn off, especially for the players, which is the real reason we do this, is to give them that unique opportunity. And, these things come up, or people at least talk about them from time to time, and I think we don't want to just do anyone that passes by. We want to make sure they're special. And to me, what made this attractive was the city. It's in Chicago, a great hockey city. It's in an iconic building in Soldier Field. Michigan State has a huge alumni base in the Chicagoland area. So I thought those dynamics made it pretty unique. And I know our guys love to play in them. So it's not something that we would probably do every year, but it'd be nice if we had the opportunity to do it at least through the cycle for each player to come through here.
First time you'll set foot in Soldier Field, right?
Yes, never been to Soldier Field inside. First time.
How will you dress?
I'm anticipating I'm going to dress really warm. We're looking at those options right now, actually, so I'm not sure, but concerned about the wind, the cold, especially we're playing the night game, so you won't have the sun. Last year we played outdoors, and it was very comfortable. Like I could have been on the bench without a jacket last year, but
don't care how you look.
I don't care how I look. No. Might have
Fred's hat from when he
I don't think I'll have that kind of punch Imlach hat like Fred had, but whatever it takes, I'll have. I mean, if I got to wear a mask to stay warm, we'll do whatever it takes. We're not going to a fashion show.
Tom, did you learn anything last year from the outdoor game in Detroit on how to approach the game in terms of strategy, the way you play, the way you deal with the ice, and so forth?
There are some things that I think we'd be well prepared for that we kind of were last year. The ice conditions of our first game last year were not very good, and there wasn't a whole heck of a lot you could do with it. You know, it really, in some cases, there were areas in the ice that were really concerning, especially to the defensemen, because they were afraid to go backwards and catch a big rut. So I'm hopeful that you go into this and the ice conditions are okay. The air temperature, if it gets too cold, could create too brittle of ice conditions. We'll have to see. But the issues that I think we had at Comerica last year were more related to the sun than they were to the temperature. And so you have to just kind of deal with that as it comes. But I think, generally speaking, you have to be very simplistic. You have to keep the game simplistic. Whether there's wind, whether there's snow blowing during the course of time. I think being prepared from an equipment standpoint, because there will be guys that once they break a sweat and once they're out there, it's not a big issue. There are other guys who don't get on the ice as frequently, so they could be colder. And last year, I know somebody not related to our staff turned on the heated benches, and we didn't want them on. And the guys were yelling about it right away. So, finding that balance when some guys are playing more than others, well, we're going to have to kind of play that by ear, but at least we're aware of all those things that you have to kind of have in consideration. But I think simplicity will be our approach.
You said the benches are heated this time.
Well, they were last time, too. If they turn on or off.
You can turn them off.
Correct. And last time we didn't use the heat.
So you might do that again.
Depends how cold it is.
That's bad for the coaches, right?
Could be. It could be. I'm least worried about the coaches, most worried about the players.
Did you watch or get a chance to kind of review what it was Wisconsin, Minnesota there last year, right, in a night game?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, if I recall correctly, it was bitter, frigid cold, like in the negatives.
Well, that was 2 years ago. Last year it was actually bitter cold, and they played in Minnesota. It was Minnesota and Ohio State, and it was bitter cold. And I think it was pretty cold when they played 2 years ago in Chicago as well. So I'm anticipating very cold.
Most of the guys in the team have played in an outdoor game before, but is there any concern about the outdoor game kind of being a distraction just because of the environment and because of the novelty of it and kind of taking away from the player's mindset because it is like any other game?
I think it can be, absolutely. I think the magnitude of playing in that kind of event, in that stadium, and in that city, which is so much kind of out of the norm for what we normally do, in a real important game. Now, we're focusing on all of our attention with our team on talking about the game. It's important 3 points. It's against our rival. We're coming off of a win. They're coming off of a loss. It's an important game. The game. That's our focus. And we'll have to deal with the elements. And hopefully, Friday we'll have our time at the rink. Saturday morning we'll have our time in the rink. By the time puck drops, you'd hope that the only thing really that matters is the game.
Do you try to kind of downplay the excitement?
I try to be realistic with it. I don't know if I'd say downplay as much as keep the focus on what's most important. Because I want guys to enjoy the experience, but I want them to also recognize the real reason we're going there isn't to play a hockey game outside. It's to play a conference game for 3 points, and it happens to be outside. So enjoy the experience like any other experience, but let's be focused on the task.
After the game on Friday, you talked about that. It was a great effort, but it might not have been your best game of the season. How do you make sure your guys come out with the best game of the season on Saturday?
Well, I think what's most important is that we play to our potential and play good enough to get a good result. That's important. But I think it continues down the path of what we're doing. I think we're kind of growing up a little bit as a team, and I think we're learning how to deal with a little bit of success. And I'd like to have to learn how to deal with a lot of success. So it's kind of one. I know this sounds like a cliche, but it's really 1 week at a time. It's a game at a time, and after each game, let's see where we're at, reassess, and then focus on the next game. So really, we got a good result after Friday's game. I would expect their team to be hungry, and we have to come out hungry for this game on Saturday. And again, to me, there's a huge importance of those 3 points. It's a huge importance, a big advantage in the Big Ten tournament to finish in one of the top 2 spots in the league. And so all of our focus here, we're not talking about playing outside. We're talking about playing against a good team for 3 really important points.
Coach, you kind of alluded to it. Michigan's coming off a really disappointing loss. You guys are coming off of a really big win. The difference between this series instead of a regular series is not only do they have a whole week to sit on that one loss, but you also have a whole week to kind of regroup and refocus. What's really the message to the team in order to get them to refocus and say, hey, this is the important 3 points, need to come out and have a big effort?
All the things that I've just talked about, really, and we started that when we got off the bus on Friday night. We got right back at it on Saturday, and our focus is, okay, good. It's a good result tonight. Good effort. Our opponent the next night, or in this case a week later, is going to be real hungry. They got wounded last night. Just like any team who loses, you don't want to lose 2 in a row, so you're going to do whatever you can to respond, and it's a good team. Well, we can't just sit there and feel good about winning. We have to take what we've learned from the game, and we've got to now refocus our attention looking ahead to say, okay, it'll be even tougher to win that second game. And so there's going to be elements of this game, given the outdoor nature of it, that we can't control. So don't focus on that. We're going to pay attention to our preparation as we get ready all week and go in that, again, 1 game shot to see if we can get 3 points again. So our focus is very narrow. It's just on those 3 points, and it starts with the first period that we play, and we started talking about that when we got off the bus on Friday night.
Also, you also alluded to it a little bit earlier. Michigan State has a very large alumni base in the city of Chicago. I think it's the second largest alumni base besides the University of Illinois. Do you find it kind of ironic that it might be crowd-wise a home game for you, even though you're technically the away team?
Yeah, I really didn't give that much thought because I'm not sure what the crowd size is expected to be at this stage of the game. But when you go into a stadium of that size, the crowd isn't on top of you like a normal game, so it has a different feel to it. Certainly you notice it, but it's not on top of you like, say, at Joe Louis last weekend. So I hope we have a great turnout. Like I said, we have a terrific alumni base there, and our team's playing pretty well, and we've got some momentum building, and I think our team is gaining confidence, and it'd be great to have a big green and white turnout there.
When you kind of alluded to it earlier about Jake, what's the difference between Jake Hildebrand in January versus Jake Hildebrand in December and even into November? And how far can a goalie take this team this year?
Well, I'm going to say this about Jake. I think Jake is playing as well right now as he has played since he's been here. And I don't think he had the same level of consistency to start the year that he's had so far at this point of the season. I think part of it is just growing up. I think part of it is, he's playing. He knows he's going to play. Mentally, he's really locked in. I think his conditioning level is better than it has been in seasons past. And he and I talked about that earlier in the year. If he's going to carry that kind of load, he's got to do more. He's got to be better prepared, because I thought the last couple seasons he hit a wall a little bit in the second half of the season. At the same time, we're not expecting him to carry our team. We're expecting him to be as good as he's capable of being. And I want to give some credit to our defensemen, our forwards, the commitment that they have to playing good defense too. because I think we're doing a much better job as a team committing to be a good defensive team, limiting the quality chances and defending to the best of our ability. So I think the combination of having real strong goaltending with a commitment to defense really helps bring it all together. And so it starts in goal with Hildy.
With that said, I mean, we've seen the defense pick up the last few weeks, and Hildy's even admitted he's seen less high-quality shots. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he's kind of become the face of this program in a lot of ways. How did you see him deal with that aspect of it, the pressure aspect that maybe comes with being the de facto star?
Well, I think he's dealing with it well as it's evolving. I go back to when I came here. Ron Scott did the same thing. I know for some of you, Ron Scott's an old name, but he was a main reason why Michigan State hockey was able to turn the corner in the early 80s. And so it's most teams that have success either have a lot of firepower or they're really strong in goal. And it's more typical in today's game, the latter rather than the former. And so for us, I think what's happening is as our team is evolving and we're getting better, Hildy is growing in his position. He's growing in confidence. And I think he's also growing in an understanding that he doesn't have to go out there and win games. He doesn't have to kind of stand alone. I think as a team with a good, solid team defensive effort, that can give us the opportunity to have success and to win games, where that wasn't true 2 years ago and even a lot of last year. And so I think that's evolving as well, and I think that takes pressure off him, and he can just kind of stay in his mode now and really be way more comfortable in what he needs to bring to the table every night. So he's emerged as a leader on the team, and I used to think he was a quiet leader, but he's really not. He's a pretty vocal guy, and he's very vocal on the ice in practice to guys. He's a fierce competitor, which I think gives him the chance to have lots of success in the position, and I think it earns a lot of respect from his teammates as well. And so I just think he's growing in his role.
Are you worried at all about your guys keeping a business-like approach heading into the weekend? And is there anything you guys are going to do when you get to Chicago to try to make it familiar as possible, that process?
Well, am I worried? I'm always worried about it, especially with a group that's kind of in a growth phase. We don't have a ton of championship experience by any means, so each week we're taking it a week at a time and making sure that we do everything within our means to try to create that laser sharp focus on the now rather than feeling too good about the past, which is over, and not looking too far ahead. So we're taking it day to day. As far as getting to Chicago, our schedule is going to be pretty busy. So we're going to bus there from here. We're leaving Friday morning as it sits today. We'll get there. We'll get staged in at the stadium. We'll go check into the hotel. We'll spend a little time there. Then we'll go back to the rink. We'll have a practice. We'll have a team meal, and we'll shut it down for the evening. So there's no special festivities that we'll participate in, or at least the team won't. The players won't. And then the next day it's business as usual. Breakfast, morning skate, normal preparation, meetings, drop the puck at 7 o'clock. So as much as it can be, it'll be a normal weekend of hockey, even though it's one game.
No deep dish pizza.
Probably not Friday night, maybe Saturday night after the game. Yeah, Giordano's.
I think your wife has said she wishes you showed more emotion, and I noticed the camera, even after these 3 wins, you're not even smiling. Is any of that by design, like you don't want to celebrate molehills around here when there are mountains to climb, or is that not that calculated?
Maybe part of it. Maybe part of it's true, Fred. I don't know. Friday night, I think I was dealing with maybe passing a kidney stone, so I didn't feel all that great. I left the bench at the last TV timeout, for a couple minutes, and I haven't felt it since. So that's been good. Maybe I passed it that night. I don't know. So that was part of it. If you've ever had a kidney stone, it takes a lot out of you. Yeah.
But you're not a fist pumper.
No, I'm not. I'm not, and that's just who I am. Doesn't mean I'm not excited. It's just I guess I show it in a conservative manner, but yeah, I'd say one of my weaknesses is I don't do a good enough job celebrating the small wins. It's kind of like, well, okay, we got that, but now what's next? So shortly after that game, there's a good feeling of accomplishment at that time, but that goes away so quick because now all of a sudden you're worrying about the next one. And so I think that's an area that I can improve because I think it's important that your players know that you're emotionally engaged and you're excited for them and you're excited to be part of it. So I just am who I am, and I don't want to come across in a way that's not me because you could read right through that too. But at the same time, I think I just had a little taken out of me that night, given how I felt.
So you didn't see those final few minutes?
No, I did. I didn't miss a second at the TV timeout. Though I was pumping myself with water. So there's a bathroom right behind the bench that I ran to real quick because I thought I was passing a stone. Yeah.
What are some of the things you want to fix going into this game on Saturday? What are some of the changes you want to make, and what are you working on in practice?
Well, we don't like giving up a power play goal, that's for sure. And they have a good power play, so we've got to make sure we're disciplined. I think our execution offensively, there were some situations that we need to get better at and make better decisions and get pucks to places that we turned it over. I thought we had some opportunities to hit open guys offensively that we didn't execute. I'd like to see that improve. And defensively, we're always working at trying to get better, make it more difficult to play against us. And so I thought we back-checked hard, but sometimes you back-check hard and not necessarily smart. They're a good offensive team coming through the neutral zone when they get possession in the offensive zone. So those are things that if we're going to give ourselves a chance to win, we have to be well prepared for because it's not easy to hold a team like that one goal 2 games in a row.
Both last weekend's game and pretty much a lot of the season, your team has pretty much been an underdog. Have you and your team, have you guys embraced the underdog role at all?
We don't talk about that all that much. We focus more on trying to get better every week and putting our best game forward. I don't think you can ask more of a team than giving the very best effort that you can based on the skill set of your team. And that's all I've ever asked of the guys since I've been here. And I think as our game continues to unfold, we gain experience. We start to build some chemistry. I think you're starting to see our game get better and better and better. And so we're going to stay. We're going to stay that same course. Hey, you lay it on the line every game. You can control your attitude and your effort. And let's work with positive energy. Let's give the best effort that we're capable of giving. And at the end of the 60 or 65 minutes, we'll see what the outcome is. And that's really how we've been focused, and I see us stay in that same course.
Tom, how would you characterize Josh Jacobs' development from when he started in October to where he is now? I know we don't talk about him a lot, but he just seems to be more consistent and just gaining consistency.
He is. I think he's growing a lot in his confidence, and yet you could certainly see that he's a freshman. There are mistakes that he makes. Lots of players make that he won't continue to make, and that's the one thing that's very noticeable about him. I think Josh is a real student of the game, and he's very coachable. And when you correct or help him correct an error that he makes, it's not very often he does it twice in a row, or he repeats it. So he works real hard at trying to limit that. And yet, I can't remember if it was Einstein who talked about if you never fail, you can't make great gains. And so we want to make sure we give guys the latitude to try things and get outside their comfort zone to a certain extent. And so we're asking a lot of him. He's playing significant minutes. He's playing against top lines from top teams, and I think his game continues to grow. And I think by allowing him to play with Walshy, they're building a little bit of chemistry. Personality-wise, it's working, and that can help him in his confidence as well. And I think he gives Walshy some confidence. So I like how his game's growing, given the amount of responsibility that we've given to him, because it's been a lot.
He's one of those guys that has the most recent championship experience as well.
He does. He comes with championship expectation. He won a USHL championship last year after coming off the previous year where their team really struggled. He won a Michigan State championship when he played for Honey Baked and got to the national tournament. And so he's got that experience with him. I think he's played in multiple U.S. national tournaments. He's played on the international stage. So one of the reasons he was brought here is to bring championship-level experience here. And so he's a hard-working kid in practice. I thought he was a hard-working kid, but his work habits in practice have probably been better than what I anticipated for a freshman player. And so I think he's got just a terrific future ahead of him.
Are there any worries about him being in an outdoor game like this early in his college career? Any worries at all?
What, that he's going to catch cold or something?
That he might get too hyped up for it. This being,
No. I think that's part of the feeling out process for all of these players. Actually, is trying to find that balance. We talk about it. Whatever the stimulus is, whether it's a big event, it's a championship game like in the GLI tournament, your first college game at home, whatever it is, these guys are all playing in those types of things. So this is just different. I think as you gain experience, you can learn how to find that balance, and in the end, come back to the same thing. It's a game, and I thought there was a terrific atmosphere at the game at Joe Louis on Friday night, and a lot of people who attended the game told me there was great energy in the building. When you're on the bench, you kind of block that out. When you're engaged in the game, you don't really notice all that kind of stuff. When I got home, my daughter was telling me all kinds of different things, and I didn't even notice it. And I think that happens, or not. I know that happens to the players as well. Are there certain things you notice? Yes, but I think once you get to a point where it's game on, you're focused on the game, and learning how to manage all that stuff beforehand is part of the process of growing up to be a competitive athlete.
Is managing shift times more important outside or not?
It could be, Fred, depending upon, I'm always curious on how the cold could affect guys' breathing.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Do you ask for shorter shifts or not?
Well, you kind of take your cue off of the guys and how they respond, and we don't know what the air temperature is going to be. Worst mistake I ever made in my life coaching, I'll never forget it. I had my team when I was at U of M Dearborn, and we went and played in Colorado Springs. And one night we played Air Force, and the next night we played CC. And after we played Friday night at Air Force, and everything went well. Saturday night I had this brilliant idea. I'm going to put an oxygen tank on the bench, and oh my God, it could have been a placebo. And guys were there sucking it all night. It was the biggest mistake I made. It was almost like every time they'd go on the ice, it was like a 3-star selection. They did a loop, and they came right back to the oxygen tank, And then they never even thought of it the night before, right? So I think we'll take our cue from the guys, the temperature. Who knows if there's going to be wind, if there'll be snow blowing. You don't know. We have masks for guys if they need to wear that to stay warm. So I think we're prepared for whatever might be coming. But given our experience last year, it wasn't a big factor. And the temperature was pretty mild.
That wasn't Chicago.
It wasn't Chicago at night. Yep, with wind blowing. You're right. The temperature was very mild. It was a very comfortable environment.
A rain date? Disaster date?
Yeah, the next day.
You stick around.
Yeah, so we're staying Saturday night regardless.
Play in the afternoon on Sunday.
I haven't even looked to see what time it would be. I'm focused on 7 o'clock puck drop on Saturday, but I know the alternate date is Sunday. Bears aren't home. No, Bears aren't home.
They're out breaking in their new coach.
Yeah, that's right.
It's February.
Don't play in February. No. One last thing I'll mention with you guys that it is very notable for our program. I learned just a little while ago. But our trainer, Dave Carrier, who's been with us for seems like forever. Actually, his first year was my senior year as a player here. He's going to be inducted. He was informed today he's going to be inducted into the National Athletic Trainers Association Hall of Fame. So that's a very prestigious award for Dave. I think he'll be the 8th Michigan State trainer to have been enshrined, and I think there's 2 others right now, Sally Nogel and John Powell on campus, who are also inductees. So that's a huge deal. Like, I can't tell you what a factor he is in our program. Like, keeping guys healthy, being progressive, changing over all these years. He's a way better trainer today than he was when he was working on me back 30 years ago, as you'd hope he'd be, right? But he's a really, really important guy to our program, and so hats off to him. Any other questions? Okay. Have a great day.